Came down the escalator. This was a big issue.
Yeah.
You were attacked right out of the box.
Yeah.
That day when you came down that escalator on this issue.
Well, I was hearing about it from a lot of people, and it was one of the primary reasons in 2016 that I ran. And I ran on the border, and I ran on other things, but I ran on the border largely. And we fixed the problem, and in 2020, it wasn't even a subject. I'd go out and say, I want to talk about the border. They'd say, sir, you fixed the border. Nobody cares about the border anymore. Now what's happened is since the election, where we got millions more votes than we did the first time, we have a situation where this border makes 2016 look like baby stuff. It's probably the worst border, not probably, it's the worst border ever in the history of the world. There's never been a border where 15, 16, maybe 18 million people have already crossed. And I think nobody has any idea what the number is. The gotaways, they don't know what the gotaways are. We have millions and millions of people, and they come from jails and prisons. They come from mental institutions, and, a step above that, the insane asylums. And it's just hard to believe. And you have terrorists coming. I've noticed, as somebody that watches your show a lot, I think you do a fantastic job. But you say 100% certain. I hate to hear it, that we're going to have a big attack at some point. That you're 100%.
I pray that I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're probably right. And that's a very sad thing. But I've heard you say it a few times, that I said, I'm not going to dispute it. I hope you're wrong, but there's certainly a good chance. They're coming from numbers and countries that we wouldn't believe. So you have 28,000 from China, all fighting age. You don't see women, and you don't see men much older than that. It's from 18 to 25, 26 years old. And there's something going on. And they're coming from Yemen that we're bombing. They're coming from the Congo, from prisons in the Congo. The only good thing is it makes our prisoners look like very nice people, I'll tell you, because these are rough people that are coming in. When you see them from Venezuela fighting, having fistfights with the cops, we never saw that. You'd see cops a lot of bad things happen to cops, but you never saw people standing in the middle of a street in a fistfight. And if that happened in their country, they'd kill them within seconds. They wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't stand for it. So it's a very terrible thing. Our country is being poisoned. We're really being poisoned. And it's hard to believe, as a business guy, you always want to understand the other side. I want to understand, what is the other side thinking, even if you disagree. I don't know what they're thinking, because who can want this? Who can want millions of people from lots of bad places pouring into our country? And you're right, we have not seen, this is just the beginning. We're just starting to see, I call it migrant crime. I really call it Biden migrant crime, but it's too long. So let's just call it migrant crime, and everyone's going to know it's because of Biden. But we've never had anything like this. We have an inflow of people at numbers that are unbelievable. And you go back to New York and you see hundreds of thousands of people. And you can see, look, the mayor is trying. He wants to do a job, but it's impossible.
Well, he made the city a sanctuary. They made New York City a sanctuary city. I want to go back to what you referred to, what I've been saying, because I point out, we'll put it up on the screen, the numbers of people coming from Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror.
Yep.
Their satellite Syria.
Yep.
You have the home of the Muslim Brotherhood, Egypt. Thousands coming from Egypt that we know of.
Yeah.
Thousands coming from Afghanistan. Now Al-Qaeda has training camps up again. Then, over 10, 12, 14,000 from Russia. And I read recently over 37,000 recently from China. Now, why would they make that long journey to our southern border? And my fear is that we have in this country, because these illegals are not vetted, I fear that terrorist cells have set up in this country that will plot, plan, scheme the next 9/11 or worse. I pray to God, as I said, I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, Mr. President.
Well, China has, as of today, 29,000 young men, for the most part, in our country for the last 3 or 4 months. And there's something going on. Look, there's something going on. Now, hopefully we don't have that problem with China. I always had a good relationship with China until the COVID came in. That was a step too far. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. No president took in 10 cents, not 10 cents. And we still got along with them. But when you look at this, and when you look at other countries, we have a lot coming in from Iran. We have a lot coming in from, places that we're fighting right now. Here go the bombs. You don't have to have bombs. We had no war. As the first one, 78 years, we had no war, other than I defeated ISIS. We knocked out ISIS. We took out the leading terrorists in the world, both of them. Took them out, gone. And now
Baghdadi, Soleimani, leader of Al-Qaeda in Yemen.
Al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the worst in the world, And you look at it and you look at what's going on with our country. I tell you, you come to Texas, this is now a war zone. And they view it as a war zone. And Mexico's doing nothing to help us. They're letting the caravans come unimpeded. I mean, they come in by the thousands. You have caravans with 25,000 people in them just walking into our country. So something has to be done. The problem you have is Arizona. You have a governor, a very liberal governor, that a lot of people say shouldn't be the governor. And in California, Newsom's doing a terrible job. He's doing, I mean, other than talking about how wonderful it is, that's about it. You have an outflow of people, as you know better than anybody. I saw your show with him. I said, you know, this guy's talking about California. Millions of people are coming in through California.
Free health care.
Free health care, free education, free everything.
Yeah, and you go to jail, they let you out, they don't turn you over to ICE.
But not for our veterans. For our veterans, they get nothing. And for people that have been there for a long time and deserve something, citizens, they get nothing. But they give free health care. If you come in illegally into our country, you get things, and this is why they're coming. The incentive is so great.
Our top geopolitical foe, I would argue, is China. Yeah. Russia's not far behind. Iran's not far behind. Your friend, little rocket man, you got to keep an eye on him. But China's been allowed, Chinese nationals have been buying up thousands and thousands of acres of farmland, ranch land, and land near our military installations. Now, you know President Xi, if you called him and said, I know somebody, Sean Hannity, would like to buy land, farmland and ranch land in China, do you think he'd allow me?
No, I don't think so. They don't allow that. And they're very possessive of their country. They're very possessive of staying sharp and bright and, frankly, coming into this country and buying a lot. And you could take it a step further. United States Steel, and I'm not trying to equate Japan with China, but it's all still, it's outside and they're coming in. Japan is buying U.S. Steel. U.S. Steel used to be the greatest company in the world. Now, it's a long time ago. But I don't like that. I don't like seeing that. And part of the reason is because other countries, in particular China, they dump steel into the United States. I had that problem taken care of largely because I put big tariffs on the dump steel. And I saved the steel industry. But now they're letting it go. And, you know, you're not going to have a steel. You want to build an army tank and you're fighting China. You're going to have to get the steel from China. And I think it's a very dangerous position. I don't think our country, just overall, I don't think our country has ever been in a dangerous position like it is right now. When you look at what's happened with all of this stuff that we're talking about tonight, but beyond that, just this total incompetence. And it began to a large extent with the election, but it began with Afghanistan. When we showed that weakness and that stupidity, taking the military out first, leaving $85 billion worth of equipment behind, 13 soldiers killed. Nobody ever talks about the 38 that were obliterated. They lost their arms, their legs, just obliterated. And we left a lot of Americans behind. You used to cover that, actually. You used to give it a countdown. How many days? I think you stopped doing it. It's so long now. But it's horrible. You have Americans over there that I guess you could call them hostages in a sense, but they are over there.
They're trapped behind enemy lines.
It's a horrible thing that happened. So our country, and you have Iran getting close to having a nuclear weapon, possibly 35 days.
The IAEA, I'm not a fan of the UN, but they said that they think they now have weapons grade material to build weapons.
Would have never happened. Iran was broke. I didn't let China. I told China, you're not going to buy or you're not going to do business in the United States. If you buy, no business in the United States. I told that to many countries. Nobody bought oil from Iran. It's all about the oil. Nobody bought oil from Iran. And they were broke. They were acknowledged to be broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. Now they have $231 billion that they made over the last 3 years. And
Joe is helping to make the Iranian mullahs rich again.
Well, they've become very rich.
The $10 billion that he allowed from Iraq?
They laugh at him. They think he's the worst. Look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. Jimmy Carter is a very happy man now because his presidency is brilliant by comparison to Joe Biden. Yeah. Brilliant.
Let me ask you this. Speaking of your friend Joe, would have been nice if he came, he would sit with us. I'm not sure if he's capable of having a discussion like this. I tend to doubt it. I've covered that fairly extensively. He shows up today, and he didn't really show up at one of the hot spots at the border.
No.
But I played that tape. You know, everybody has children, and if they get children, they're all going to get in trouble. I don't care about what they did so much, but if they lie to you, they get in a whole lot of trouble.
Right.
And they've been lying to the American people for 3 years. I played that montage. The border's secure. The border's closed. The border's secure. The border's closed. No, it wasn't. You know, our eyes were not lying to us. We've been showing this video of these migrant caravans for 3 years, and now all of a sudden they have changed the narrative. This is Republicans' fault? Your reaction?
It's all disinformation. Russia, Russia, Russia. Everything they do. And I guess you have to say they're masters at it. They'll say something 1,000. The border is great. The border is closed, and they'll say it 1,000 different times, and some people are going to believe it. I think that's probably the hardest thing that they've got to do, because they have destroyed this border, and they're in the process of destroying our country. We're allowing people in our country that we shouldn't have. We are allowing an extraordinarily tough group of people into our country. When you have prisons and jails and mental institutions being emptied out, not just in South America, all over the world. All over the world they're being emptied out. You can check your prison population throughout the world, and it's all coming into our country. And how can that be good? And how can it be good politically?
Joe Biden is here today. I want to get your reaction to that. And you just saw the other tape. And the other tape showed that there are so many of Trump's policies that we reversed, I can't even list them. Yeah. It's so long. I gave a short list. And what is your reaction? Why do you think he's here today? I don't think it's an accident. And he had bragged about reversing the policies that you put in place. What's your reaction?
Well, I know why he's here, because he found out that we were coming. We were here. Look, you and I made this agreement 2 weeks ago.
No, actually, a month and a half ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. But we made it a while ago, and the word got out. And a couple of weeks ago, it started getting out. And then they found out for sure. You put up the nice little picture on the right-hand bottom corner of your television set that I was coming, and all of a sudden they announced that they're coming. But they went to the wrong area. They went to an area that the governor and myself have done a good job on, and there's essentially nobody coming through. So, you know, you're not seeing it. This area is tough.
So if you win in November, the election's on November 5th, about 249 days, if I'm right, and on... How do you reverse this? Nearly 10 million unvetted illegal immigrants. We don't know where they are. Many are given court dates 7, 8 years down the road. They're never showing up for those court dates. Now, you've talked about deportation. How do we identify them? We'll identify where they are, find them and deport them. And is that your promise to the American people?
Well, absolutely. And you have no choice, because this is not sustainable. The cities are going bad. The cities, the country, the whole place is going bad. You know, every state is really a border state. And I was talking to the governor before, and he has done really a great job, Governor Abbott.
Ted Cruz wanted to be here, but Chuck Schumer kept him back in D.C.
Probably for a good reason, right? Look, we have to deport a lot of people, and they have to start immediately. People don't know that Dwight Eisenhower is a pretty tough president. I never thought of it as that, but 10 years ago, you start reading and you start really seeing. And he was a big deporter, and he would deport tremendous numbers of people, and they'd bring them just to the other side of the border, they'd come back. He'd bring them again, they'd come back. Then he brought them 2,000 miles back, and they didn't come back. We have no choice. And the way you do it is your local police. We have the greatest police. They don't get the respect that they have to get. They are treated so badly. They do something, and they end up losing their pension, even if it's a good thing. If they stop crime nowadays, they lose their pension, their family, their house. And we're going to give immunity to police, and we're going to let the police do the job that they have to do. I think it's very important. They understand who these migrants are. They know them by their first name, their last name. They know where they come from. They know everything about. It's going to be the local police are going to turn them over, and we're going to have to move them back to their country.
When the FBI was the world's premier law enforcement agency, and I believe we will achieve that again, hopefully.
Hopefully.
You had some of the top FBI officials. They have said what we are witnessing is an invasion of military-age men. You ask the question, you try to understand people that think differently than you. For the life of me, I can't come up with any rationale or reason for this.
So there's two things that you think of. Number one, they maybe want the votes. They think that they're going to get these people registered and to vote. And
I'll give you citizenship. I hope you remember me at the polls.
All sorts of things. But I don't know. I'm doing very well with Hispanic, and you have a lot of Hispanic coming. But the fact is that you have two things. Either